molto interessanti ed era comunque uno scenario che andava fatto. A questo punto io passo la parola a Polak, che ci presenta 3 casi di multinazionali di frontiera che lui ha fondato e che puntano sulla strada per una rivoluzione dell'impresa finalizzata appunto all'estinzione della povertà nei limiti del possibile. Polak.
Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me okay? Microphone. Now can everyone hear me? Great. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's very exciting to meet some of the leaders of industry and social enterprise in Italy. First of all, I'm going to do something that I've never done before. I'm going to sit in one place for 15 minutes to accommodate the cameras. If I'm successful, it will be a miracle.
Possiamo fare anche 10 minuti, che così magari restringiamo i tempi e lei si può alzare.
I'll do my best. Sometimes I think we make social enterprise more complicated than it needs to be. I'm going to talk about how all these principles apply to actual life in a village where poor people live. I had the pleasure this morning of meeting the president of Ferraro and his wife. Ferraro is one of the largest confectionery companies in the world. It's an Italian company. In the villages that I work in India, about half of the children are underweight and malnourished. Ferraro already has a plant in India. If Ferraro, now these children go to the local village store and buy candies for 1 or 2 cents. If Ferraro could make a type of candy that includes all the vitamins and minerals that a child needs in a day and could sell it for 1 or 2 cents a piece, it would make a profound contribution to nutrition in India. It would add to bottom line profits. And if Ferraro could benefit from the support of government institutions and financial institutions, this would make a huge impact on nutrition in India and significantly enhance the brand that Ferraro has. This is a kind of social enterprise that is available all over the world. I'm going to talk very quickly about what my impression is. I've been involved in this field for 30 years. I've written 2 books. One of them is called Out of Poverty. The most recent is The Business Solution to Poverty. I'll be talking about that, and I will present quite quickly and include a 2-minute video. In my view, while there have been some real advances in social enterprise, achieving scale is the single biggest challenge facing development today. There are some 2.7 billion people in the world who live on less than $2 a day. That's 40% of all the customers in the world. And here is my view of where we stand today in attempting to end extreme poverty. In my view, although there are some notable exceptions, conventional development aid has failed. Again, while there are some exceptions, much of corporate social responsibility is cosmetic. Charity is very important. When there is a disaster and people are starving, they need food, but charity does not bring people out of poverty. And finally, I believe that impact investing has a lot of confusion about the relationship between bottom line profits and social impact. Now, each of these things we could spend an hour talking about, but I'm going to go through them quickly, and I hope during the course of the day we'll have a chance to discuss more. Is social enterprise the answer? Well, here are some problems. Many existing social enterprises are simply nonprofits masquerading as businesses. Last mile distribution is a key constraint. None of the social enterprises that I'm aware of have yet reached 100 million $2 a day customers, which I think is the benchmark for reaching scale, with the exception of mobile phones, which is a business that has reached that many people in villages. Here are the good news. I believe we can create a new generation of frontier multinationals, each of which has the capacity to transform the livelihoods of at least 100 million people who live now on less than $2 a day, each of which is capable of generating more than 10 billion in annual revenues and earning enough profits to attract commercial international finance. And I'm spending the rest of my life creating the model for these companies. But first, I want to give you the background. I've been in this field for 30 years, and my first focus for the first 25 years is creating a nonprofit operating as a business called IDE, which focused on doubling the income of people who live on less than $1 a day. IDE's basic principle was to treat poor people as customers instead of as recipients of charity. So it all begins with talking to poor people themselves. I have spent most of my time interviewing people who live on less than $1 a day, walking with families through their fields. I've personally interviewed some 3,000 families who live on less than $1 a day, and everything that I'm doing is based on what I have learned from them as my teachers and my friends. One of the products we began with 25 years ago was treadle pumps. In Bangladesh, farmers grow very little during the dry season, which is about 5 months, although water is 15 feet below their feet. So there is a pump which is manually operated in a walking motion. A treadle pump costs $25 retail, and that includes the pump itself, the pipe that brings water down from the groundwater, lifts it from the groundwater, and a filter at the aquifer, the sand level where the water is. On that $25, the manufacturer, the village dealer, and the well driller makes a profit. So it's a totally unsubsidized price. The average return on that investment of $25 is $100 after expenses per year. And 20% of the farmers who invest $25 in a treadle pump earn an average net profit of $100 a year, and 1/5 of them earn $500 a year in new net income. There are literally hundreds of products and services that can earn a 300% return on the poor person's investment, because this is such a virgin field. We focused, IDE is a nonprofit focused on rural marketing. We produced, for instance, a 90-minute Bollywood movie on the treadle pump that played to an audience of 1 million people a year. So the success of these ventures is very much dependent on rural mass marketing and creative new ways of applying the marketing principles all of us know about, but shaping them to fit a rural audience often that doesn't read or write. I believe that everything that we do in the social enterprise field should have measurable impact and scale. Here are the results of IDE after the first 25 years. We raised 78 million in donor contributions and foundation investments. Poor people themselves who lived on less than $1 a day invested $139 million, and the impact of that investment was new income of net income of $288 million a year. I think these are the kinds of results that are possible if you focus on creating a disciplined marketplace serving poor customers. Now, after those 25 years, we took what we learned, we distilled what we learned, and applied it to the work that I'm doing now. And that is to create a new breed of frontier multinationals. I believe that big business is the prime mover for scale. It's already in existence, and the mobile phones are an example of the profound impact an international commercial company can make on both poverty and bottom line profits. One of the reasons I believe we need a new generation of global businesses is that from the point of view of business, in many respects, a ceiling has been reached on profits available in mature markets. One of the companies that I've studied is Cummins, which makes large diesel engines. Their profits in Europe and the United States have plateaued. Their growth is less than 5% and in fact negative. But 25 years ago, they established a presence in China right after Nixon's visit. They didn't make any money for 10 years. Their profit picture now is they are earning profit margins of 12% in China and India, compared with less than 5% in US and Europe. And their growth rate is 70% in India and China, and compared with a minus growth rate in Europe and the United States. So emerging markets is an amazing new profit opportunity. I assume that's why you have a confectionery business in India. But to a large extent, the focus has been to middle class in emerging markets. I think the next kind of China for big business is the 40% of the world's customers who live on less than $2 a day. But here we need a revolution in how business designs, prices, markets, and distributes their products. So I am now, for the last 5 years, have been focused on creating 3 new frontier multinationals, each of which is designed to transform the livelihoods of 100 million $2 a day customers, generate $10 billion in annual revenues, and earn enough profits to attract commercial backing. I'm going to say a little bit about 2 of those and go into more detail about 1, all of which I hope to do in less than 15 minutes, perhaps 10. The first of these is a company called Sunwater. There are some 27 million diesel irrigation pumps in India today. Diesel prices are going up. Photovoltaic electricity is ideally designed to meet this need because it's totally divisible. You can get a small photovoltaic pump or a large one. But the key barrier is that photovoltaics, in spite of the price drop in photovoltaics, is still far too expensive. It's not competitive with diesel. So we challenged a group of rocket scientists at Ball Aerospace, which is an aerospace company, to cut the cost of photovoltaic solar pumping by 80%. This is the model that is now working successfully in Colorado. We're ready to beta test it. They have been successful in cutting the cost by 80%. That makes photovoltaics competitive with diesel. And it's also eligible for carbon credits. So we now have a company in India that will be mass marketing that radically affordable solar technology, and we will then, as a next step, partner with electricity enterprises in villages to sell electricity not only for pumping water, but for charging cell phones, doing village entertainment, post-harvest processing, and home electricity. Second company, there is a silent revolution going on in the world where biomass compressed biomass is replacing coal and charcoal. There are already 600 of those compressed biomass plants just in 3 states in India. Coal represents 40% of carbon emissions and climate change in the world. In Europe, I don't know what the percentage is in Italy, but in Europe, about 40% of electricity comes from coal. The world produces, we burn 6 billion tons of coal a year. The world produces 4 billion tons of agricultural waste. Much of that is transformable into a blackened substance that is competitive with coal and charcoal, but is green if it's burned efficiently. The process is called torrefaction. Europe has invested a lot of money in it, but the current torrefaction plants cost $10 to $40 million. Torrefaction simply requires heating dried compressed biomass to about 300 degrees centigrade in the absence of oxygen for 3 hours. That does not require a $10 million plant, so we're designing a $25,000 village plant that cuts the collection radius for biomass to 4 kilometers from 100 kilometers, and that produces 7 tons a day of saleable charcoal and coal replacement worth $150 a ton. That would bring $1,000 a day in new income to a village. We plan to implement thousands of those plants. That's a $250 billion virgin market waiting to be developed. I'm using this just as an example. There are similar markets that are waiting to be developed in education, in health, and in 20 other areas. And I hope with these 3 new companies to create a model which can be applied to a whole host of new markets for this population. Now I'm going to say a little bit more about one of those companies. It's Spring Health. It's an Indian company that sells safe drinking water for about 7 cents a day per family.
Mr. Polak,
yes.
Siamo già molto fuori i tempi, a lei concessi.
Can you say it again? Yeah. All right, then I will simply do a 3-minute video and close. Is that all right? Sorry.
Thank you very much.
Much of this is are the key elements, but I think this video will give you an image. Here we are, of what it actually looks like. The opening of a water shop is an important ceremony in the life of the village. More and more customers in rural Orissa are buying safe water from their local small shop for 4 cents a day. They're buying it from small village shopkeepers. Windhorse and Spring Health India partner with the shopkeepers and install a 3,000-liter cement tank next to the shop, which the shopkeeper fills with water from his shallow open well, which is usually contaminated with fecal pathogens. A company staff member purifies the water in the tank by adding chlorine and other water purifiers. A central part of the Spring Health rollout strategy is creating a strong, dependable brand identity in small, remote rural villages. A bicycle home delivery service carries jerry cans filled with safe drinking water to customers' homes up to 3 kilometers from the kiosk at a cost of 8 cents for 10 liters compared with 4 cents at the kiosk. The people in rural villages in Orissa report a rapid drop in diarrhea, and they are very happy with the result. Over the next 3 years, we will partner with 10,000 village shops and sell safe drinking water to 5 million people. Over 10 years, that number will increase to 400,000 shops in 20 countries, and with new access to safe drinking water, 200 million rural people will lead more prosperous and healthy lives.
Grazie Mr. Polak, mi dispiace di essere così tiranno, ma purtroppo i compiti di un vigile sono quelli di far rispettare i tempi, anche perché credo che il suo intervento sia sicuramente